So the damage reduction is going to be a big part of 1.1 of last Epoch. Now, just to go over, just in case you don't know, up until 1.1 there is a dynamic damage reduction mechanic. Pretty much, the more damage you do, the less health you take off. The less damage you do, the less damage reduction that happens. Pretty much, there's a point where if you can kill the boss, a bad build and a good build can kill it in roughly the same amount of time, because you have to go through all the mechanics and you can't actually really feel powerful and take down bosses. This isn't just the upper bosses, this is the campaign bosses. So if you log on now, use a character that you've gone through the corruption or monoliths or whatever, go back to a good one is the architect. Go to the architect, try to defeat her, and if your build is any good, you will take a long time to do it in comparison to what you can beat up in the monoliths. And obviously it feels bad because you got no power. You have to play the mechanics. The answer to that was to add a ward. This isn't to change how it works. This is to show a easier representation of what is happening. So the ward will decay quicker the worse your build is, and the ward will decay slower the stronger the build is. So pretty much the same thing is in place, except for it's like a health increase indicator instead of a damage reduction hidden away. Now, it is pretty much rewarding lower DPS builds for hitting higher content, as long as you have the skill and ability to defeat the bosses. It's still handicapping higher DPS builds. Now, as you can see, they've added some stuff so you can't stun lock them and all that, but that's just basic. Now, there is this I have done to illustrate what you got to do. So it starts with 100 health and more than likely 100 ward. There's no reason why it wouldn't start with ward. You need to take out 25% health and then 100 of the ward first and then the health. Once you get down to 75% health, it will get its ward back. So you need to defeat 75% ward and then the 25% health to get down to 50. Same thing, 50 ward and then another 25% health, 25 ward, and then you get to kill the boss. So you actually take out 100% of its health, 250 ward, which equates to about 350% of the boss's health, every single boss in the game. Now, this isn't necessarily a static number. A lower DPS build might be closer towards this sort of 100 to 50. A higher DPS build might even be double, because it does not say that it is going to be a static number. It says it decays quicker the longer the bar is there. So assuming there is a solid number at the top, you may get 350% of the boss's health that you've got to take out every time you face a boss, or that number may actually increase and you may actually have like 200 ward and so on, like double the amount of health that you need to take out. Now, whilst this is more transparent of what's happening in the fight, the actual overall result is going to feel the same, because a lot of the mechanics people don't want to do. And I'll try to find it, false expectation how long the boss is going to go, because they didn't show how much of the damage you need to do. But this 50% and 43% is still not transparent, because you don't know what these numbers are. if they had numbers, say 1,000 and 1,000 at 100%, 500 at 50. So just say the boss has 1,000 health, and the ward would go down. You would have a clear indication of the damage you are doing. Having a percentage, and the percentage going down randomly based on how much damage you are doing to it, is not exactly clear cut like they're trying to give you. And this damage reduction mechanic, they may have got rid of the name, but they haven't got rid of the actual mechanic. They've just changed how the mechanic works and made it more transparent. And lower DPS builds still get rewarded for having low DPS builds, because they get less of this damage reduction, but they generally got to have a longer fight because the actual damage they do is so much that they got to run around, dodge all the mechanics. Although, under the new system, this will decay faster the longer they're out there. So, depending on when they judge your damage through each threshold, if the mechanic is easy to dodge, you could always, just by thinking about how it works, you could always run around, do the mechanic, and then the bar will decay quick or quicker than if you're actually attacking. Although we don't know how quickly it decays. It could just be easier to hit it down to 75, take out a shield, and then keep going and just take out 350 to 500% health. It might be quicker than to try to cheat the system, in the lack of a better term. But as far as the damage reduction and all that, which will be a huge part because you need to go further into the game, hit corruption, hit all the bosses way more than before. You need to hit all the boss monoliths and hit them in corruption and further into corruption to actually unlock the pinnacle bosses. So you'll be fighting a lot of bosses with this mechanic in place. I believe they'll change it because a lot of people won't be happy having to face 10 bosses at a time to get to pinnacle bosses, or there's 10 of them, and by the sounds of it, the further you go into corruption, the better. So each breakpoint of corruption, so you're probably facing about 50 plus bosses to get all the pinnacle bosses done. So 50 bosses which have 350 to 500% health isn't exactly going to seem like a good fun time. So what do you think? Do you think the damage reduction mechanic is gone and now this will actually be a good feeling? Or do you think they just replaced one damage reduction with another and made it more transparent, but still they need to get rid of it because they want you to do mechanics the player base does not? So that's the only reason why they have the damage reduction. They want you to do the boss mechanics. They don't want you to just kill the boss. That's the only reason why it's even in there. So give me a thoughts on it all and whether you're going to try to play a low DPS build that's tanky or a high DPS build and just try to destroy it as quick as possible. And hit it in the comments and hit all those buttons, and I'll catch you next time.